I bought two lottery tickets at the gas station. One hit for $1 million. The other hit for 10 million. I had barely handed the $1 million ticket to my parents before they lost their damn minds, immediately carving up the loot like a pack of hyenas. We're keeping half of this million for our retirement, my dad declared, eyes wide with greed. The other half goes to your sister, Ashley. Then looking at me like he was doing me a favor, he added, since the family finances are loose now, we'll knock $200 off the monthly rent. You pay us just 200. My hand, which was about to pull out, the $10 million ticket frozen in my pocket. I slowly let go of it and smoothed out the wrinkles on my cheap nursing scrubs. Instead, watching the ecstasy on their faces and listening to them divvy up my money, a silence I had never felt before washed over me. What could I say? I was the family scapegoat, the pathetic daughter, who always tried to buy their love with obedience. I was stupid enough to tell them about the win immediately, hoping for once they'd look at me with pride. What a faking idiot. I touched my pocket again, feeling the crisp edge of the $10 million ticket. I turned around and walked towards my bedroom. It was time to pack my shade and get the hell out. My mom saw me moving and frowned. Chloe, what are you doing? Did you hear what your father said? You can pay 200 less next month. She was clutching that $1 million ticket like it was a holy relic, her eyes manic, but looking at me with the same old disgust. I'm not paying you a dime anymore, I said flatly. Then I pointed at the ticket in her claw. Also, have you guys looked at it enough? Give it back when you are done. Mom froze, thinking she misheard. Dad looked confused too. Chloe, what the hell did you just say? I said, if you are done staring at the ticket, give it back to me. My voice was steady, steadier than it had been in 25 years of taking their crap. Finally processed my words, and their faces turned an ugly shade of purple. Mom stormed over, screaming right in my face. Chloe, are you out of your effing mind? You want to swallow this million all for yourself? Do you even consider us your parents? Do you know how much money we spent raising your sorry ass? And do you want to keep it all? I let out a weird dry laugh. I don't know what was funny. Maybe I was laughing at the misery of my entire life. How much did it cost to raise me? Really? In elementary school, I walked through snow in canvas shoes with holes in them. Hand-me-downs for my younger sister Ashley. They were a size too small, leaving my toes covered in bloody blisters. In middle school, Ashley went to a private academy with a ride from Dad. I walked an hour to public school, soaking wet in the rain because nobody picked me up. In high school, we got a computer. Everyone knew the password but me. I had to submit a formal application to use it. It was only approved if they were in a good mood. College. I never went to a real college. I got into a state university, but they forced me into a cheap nursing program so I could start working faster. I wipe asses and clean bedpans at a rundown hospital day and night. I make $3,300 a month. Take $2,200 of it, and now I should be grateful for a $200 discount. What a joke. I nodded solemnly. Yeah, I'm keeping it all. Give it back, or I'm calling the cops. Whether it is 10 million or 1 million, it is mine. Hearing the word cop sent them into a rage. Dad, out of habit, grabbed a wooden chair and swung it at me. You ungrateful animal, you gonna call the cops? Try it, see what happens. Mom shoved the ticket into her pocket and pointed a shaking finger at my nose. You think winning $1 million makes you hot shade? Fate, who raised you. You've been eating my food and living under my roof for years. Even 10 million wouldn't be enough to pay us back. I didn't flinch. I was so calm. It actually scared me. I used to be a coward, obeying their every command. When I broke down, I used to cry and beg them to love me just a little bit. But now, no anger, no fear, just nothing. Maybe money really does change your mindset. Or maybe that ticket woke me up. They didn't deserve my love. I was a multi-millionaire, and they were just a pair of selfish, ignorant, ugly middle-aged losers. Why the hell did I need their validation? I've been giving you $2,200 a month for years. That debt is paid, I said, holding out my hand. Give me the ticket. I swear to God, I am dialing 911. You psycho BFH. What got into you today? Dad couldn't take the disrespect. He was a classic toxic alpha wannabe who couldn't handle a woman standing up to him. He charged at me, raising his hand to slap the taste out of my mouth. That gesture triggered my instinctive fear, and I flinched back. But Mom surprisingly grabbed him, whispering something in his ear. I could faintly hear her hiss. Why hit her? If she calls the police, we lose everything.
Can't you see?
She is different today. Let me handle this. Mom was a manipulator. She was an expert at reading the room and switching masks. Even with me, she kept this skill sharp. Every time I cried about how unfair things were, she'd give me a crumb of affection. A sweet date telling me she loved me. but that Ashley was younger. So, as the big sister, I had to sacrifice. I always swallowed that poison candy. And now she was unwrapping another piece. Sure enough, Mom pushed Dad into a chair, forced a smile onto her face, walked over. Chloe, honey, why the mood? You won the lottery. You should be happy. Your dad and I were just too excited. We didn't think about your feelings. How about this? Out of the million, we'll give you 50,000. Consider it your dowry for when you get married. I can't describe the feeling of hearing that. I just felt like I was choking. $50,000, that was the sweet date. Is that all I'm worth? 5%. Looking at Dad's red, angry face and Mom's fake hypnotic smile, my stomach turned. The acid reflex was instant. Apparently, disgust can physically make you vomit. I ran to the bathroom. Mom called out twice, then stopped caring when I didn't answer. I puked until there was nothing left, realizing my face was wet with tears. There is a saying, they aren't my parents. They just wear the faces of the people who birthed me. I could never cut them off before, but holding on just meant more pain. 25 years. It was time to end this. I wiped my face and walked out. Before I reached the living room, I heard Mom on the phone sounding frantic and excited. Yes, your sister won $1 million. We're keeping half for retirement and half for you to start a business. Didn't you always want to open that bubble tea boutique? Ashley, baby, come home quick. You need to help calm your sister down. She is having a psychotic break and wants to keep it all. I stood there listening quietly. Then Dad chimed in. Ashley, once we cash the check, we're taking you to Aspen. You've been crying about skiing since you were a kid. Yeah, okay. No, we aren't taking your sister. If she takes a day off, she loses wages. Just us three, a family trip. The nausea came back, but I couldn't puke this time. They were dead set on stealing that $1 million ticket. Suddenly, I realized something. That ticket could actually be the thing that destroys them. Without hesitation, I pulled out my phone, turned on the voice recorder, and walked into the room. Seeing me return, they hung up the phone, instantly plastering those fake smiles back on. Chloe, you feeling sick? Look, we were a bit harsh earlier. Don't take it to heart. Mom reached out to hold my hand. Beaming, I shook her off, staring at her coldly. Are you done plotting? When do I get my ticket back? That is my $1 million. I raised my voice. Mom's face stiffened. She forced to laugh. What is yours or mine? You bought the ticket? Sure. But we're family. Money belongs to the household. Right. It is family money, Dad echoed. I shook my head. I bought this ticket on the 13th of December at the Quick E, marked on 5th Street. I have the receipt. The legal ownership is mine. But tell you what, I can share some. I'll give you each 10 grand. The moment those words left my mouth, Dad's temper exploded. He roared and tried to kick me. If I hadn't dodged, he would have sent me flying. Mom dropped the act completely, screaming like a banshee. Chloe, you ungrateful little beef H. Get the hell out. This is my house. You don't deserve to step foot in here. Get out. They snapped was actually funny. I got exactly what I wanted. Fine. From now on, this shithole isn't my home. I'm not coming back. As for the ticket, I'll give you 1 month to think about it. If you don't return it by the deadline, I am calling the police. 1 month. Enough time for them to spend that stolen windfall. And when they realize it is gone, that is when the fun begins. I dragged my suitcase out the door. Walking down the driveway, I heard Dad sneering behind me. Let her sue. Lottery tickets are bearer instruments. Whoever holds it owns it. Let's see what she can do. Exactly. Cashing it tomorrow. Let her cry in the street when she runs out of money. She'll come crawling back begging. I didn't look back. The next steps were easy. First, I cashed the $10 million ticket. After taxes, I walked away with about $6.5 million. $6 million might not be oligarchs' money, but for me it was freedom. I bought a beautiful secluded villa on the outskirts of town. I adopted 2 stray cats and a golden retriever. I planted roses in the garden. And yes, I quit my job. No more wiping asses on the night shift. Then I planned a trip skiing. Skiing was a dream Ashley and I both had, but we couldn't afford it. Now, nobody had wiped out. That seemed fair. Except I knew Ashley was about to go skiing too. The family was rich now, right? I shook my head and got busy. A month later, I was settled into my furnished villa. It had a massive backyard and cost me a cool $2 million. A steal in this market. I bought a Mercedes G-Wagon, matte black, about $180,000. In our small town, it looked like a tank. I banked the rest. Roughly a month passed before Mom finally called me. She started screaming immediately. Zoe, you quit your job. I went to the hospital today, and they told me you were gone. Are you taking this tantrum to the grave? How are you going to pay us your monthly contribution? She seriously thought I was bluffing. I took a sip of my expensive latte, checking the calendar. Tomorrow is the deadline. When are you returning the ticket? I hung up the phone and looked at the black screen. My hand wasn't shaking. That was the first surprise. In the past, a call like that from my mother would have sent me spiraling into a panic attack, frantically checking my bank account to see if I could afford their demands. Now, I just felt a cold, hard resolve. I finished my latte. It was lukewarm, but it tasted like victory. The next morning, the deadline arrived. I didn't dress in my usual worn-out jeans, or the scrubs they were used to seeing me in. I put on a tailored cream linen suit, oversized sunglasses, and a pair of red-bottomed heels that cost more than my father made in a month. I wasn't going there to negotiate. I was going there to inspect the damage. I climbed into the G-Wagon. The engine purred, a deep, guttural sound that vibrated through the chassis. I loved this car. It was aggressive. It took up space. It was everything I had never been allowed to be. The drive to my parents' house was a regression in time. I watched the manicured lawns of my new neighborhood give way to the cracked pavement and peeling siding of the district where I grew up. When I turned onto their street, I saw it. The family sedan was gone. In its place, parked crookedly on the lawn because the driveway was full of construction debris, was a brand new, cherry red convertible. A midlife crisis on wheels. They hadn't wasted a second. I pulled the G-Wagon up to the curb, blocking the driveway. I killed the engine and stepped out. The silence of the street was broken by the sound of a heavy car door thudding shut. My father was on the porch, a beer in hand at 10 a.m. He squinted at the car, then at me. He didn't recognize me at first. The suit, the hair, the posture. It threw him off. But when I took off the sunglasses, his jaw went slack. Then, predictably, it tightened into a sneer. "Look at you," he shouted, not bothering to stand up. "Who did you have to sleep with to rent that hearse? Or are you driving for a service now?" Uber black suited for a servant. I walked up the path, avoiding the cracks I used to trip over as a child. "Hello, Dad. Is Mom home?" "Inside," he grunted, taking a swig of beer. "Packing for Aspen. We leave tomorrow. First class. Unlike some people who have to beg for shifts." I pushed past him into the house. It smelled the same: stale grease, lemon pledge, and underlying mildew. The living room was a disaster zone of open suitcases and shopping bags. Designer logos were everywhere: Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Balenciaga. But they were thrown around like trash. Mom was holding a sequined dress against her body in front of the hallway mirror. Ashley was on the sofa, aggressively typing on a new iPhone, surrounded by shoe boxes. "Chloe?" Mom turned, her eyes scanning me up and down. The disgust was there, but it was layered with confusion. "What are you wearing? Did you steal that?" "I'm here for the ticket," I said calmly. "The deadline is today." Ashley snorted, not looking up from her phone. "God, give it a rest. We cashed it, loser. It's gone. The money is in the bank." "You cashed it?" I asked, my voice feigning shock. "Damn right we did," Dad said, coming in behind me. He loomed over me, trying to use his height to intimidate. Walked right into the lottery office, signed the back, and deposited the check. "It's done. Possession is 9/10 of the law. You can't do a damn thing." Mom stepped forward, a cruel smirk on her lips. "We told you, Chloe. It's family money. And since you're no longer acting like family, you get nothing. Now, move your rental car. The contractor is coming to measure for the new pool." "A pool?" I looked around the rotting living room. "You're putting a pool in a house with a leaking roof? We're fixing the roof too." Mom snapped. "We're fixing everything. Unlike you, we have vision. Now get out. Unless you have that $200 for the rent you missed." I reached into my purse. They all watched, probably expecting me to pull out a crumpled wad of cash. Instead, I pulled out a white envelope. "I don't have rent," I said, placing the envelope on the TV stand. "I have a lawsuit." Dad laughed. A loud, barking sound. "A lawsuit? With what money? You're unemployed." "Open it," I said. Ashley finally looked up. She reached over and tore the envelope open. She pulled out the papers, her eyes scanning the legal jargon. Her face went pale. "Mom," Ashley whispered. "This isn't a small claims court summons." "What is it?" Dad demanded, snatching the papers. "It's a high court writ," I explained, leaning against the doorframe. "For theft, conversion, and unjust enrichment. And since I have the receipt for the ticket, time-stamped, matched to my credit card, and verified by the store's security footage which my lawyer has already subpoenaed, I have proof of ownership." "So what?" Dad ripped the papers in half and threw them at me. "Paper doesn't mean shit. The money is in our account." "Actually," I smiled, a genuine cold smile. "That's the best part. That document isn't just a lawsuit. It's a notification of an emergency injunction. As of 9 a.m. this morning, all assets under your names have been frozen pending the investigation. You can't spend a dime. You can't go to Aspen. You can't even buy a pack of cigarettes. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. You're lying, Mom whispered. I checked my watch. Try your card. Dad scrambled for his wallet. He pulled out his debit card and dialed the automated bank line on speaker. We all listened. We are sorry, but the account ending in 4590 has been temporarily restricted due to pending litigation. Please contact. Dad threw the phone against the wall. It shattered. You bitch. He lunged at me. This time, I didn't flinch. I didn't step back. I pulled a small canister of pepper gel from my pocket and raised it. Try it, old man. I will blind you, and then I will call the cops and have you arrested for assault on top of the grand larceny charges. Do you want to spend your retirement in a cell? He froze, his face purple, veins bulging in his neck. You have 30 days to return the full amount plus legal fees, I said, stepping back toward the door. If you don't, I take the house. I take the car. I take everything. We spent $50,000 already. Ashley shrieked, standing up. We can't pay it back. Then I guess you better start selling those shoes, Ashley, I said. I hear the resale market is tough right now. I walked out. I didn't look back. I got into my G-Wagon, reversed out of the driveway, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw my mother collapse onto the porch steps. The next 3 months were a masterclass in watching a train wreck in slow motion. I didn't have to do much. The legal system, slow and grinding as it is, was on my side. The evidence was irrefutable. I had the credit card transaction. I had the receipt. I even had the clerk from the gas station, a nice guy named Raj, who remembered me buying the 2 tickets because I bought a specific brand of sugar-free gum he had just stocked. My parents, on the other hand, had nothing but entitlement and rage. They couldn't afford a good lawyer because their assets were frozen. They had to use a court-appointed public defender for the criminal investigation and a strip mall ambulance chaser for the civil suit. I, meanwhile, was busy. I hired a forensic accountant. We tracked every penny they had spent in that 48-hour window before the freeze. The down payment on the convertible. The first-class tickets to Aspen, non-refundable, ouch. The designer clothes. They had blown through $80,000 in 2 days. Since they couldn't access the remaining $920,000, they couldn't pay their bills. The power was cut off 2 weeks later. I knew because Ashley texted me. Ashley, you sick freak. Mom is crying in the dark. Turn the money back on. Me. Tell Dad to sell the convertible. Ashley. He can't. The title is frozen too. Me. Sounds like a personal problem. I blocked her number. I spent my days gardening. I planted hydrangeas and Japanese maples. I sat on my patio with my golden retriever, Buster, drinking tea and reading books I missed in college. I was healing. The silence in my head was no longer empty. It was peaceful. But I wasn't done. I knew them. They wouldn't give up. They would try to find a way to hurt me. It happened on a Tuesday. I was at the grocery store, the expensive one, organic everything, when I ran into an old neighbor, Mrs. Gable. She looked at me with wide eyes. Chloe? Is that you? Hi, Mrs. Gable. Oh my God, honey. I heard. She leaned in, lowering her voice. Your parents are telling everyone you stole their winning ticket. They say you're a drug addict, and you tricked them. Is that right? I picked up a carton of oat milk. They started a GoFundMe, she whispered, for their legal defense. They're posting terrible things about you on Facebook, saying you abused them. I felt a spark of anger, but it quickly faded into amusement. Let them talk, Mrs. Gable. The truth has a way of coming out in court. I went home and looked up the GoFundMe. Help elderly parents fight ungrateful daughter who stole their retirement. They had raised $45. $20 was from an anonymous donor, probably Ashley. I called my lawyer, Mr. Henderson. They are defaming me online. I see it, Henderson said, his voice dry. Do you want to add a defamation suit? No, I said. Let them dig. Just make sure the judge sees it. It proves their character. Done. The court date for the summary judgment was set for 4 months after the incident. I walked into the courthouse flanked by Henderson and a security guard I had hired, just in case Dad decided to try the chair trick again. They looked terrible. Dad had lost weight. His skin was gray. Mom looked frazzled, her roots grown out, wearing the same sequin dress she had bought with the stolen money because, apparently, she had sold her old clothes to buy food. Ashley wasn't there. The hearing was short. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with reading glasses perched on her nose, looked at the evidence. She looked at the receipt. She looked at the timestamp. She looked at the security footage of me buying the tickets. Then she looked at my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, the judge said. The evidence is overwhelming. You cashed a ticket that did not belong to you. You spent funds that were not yours. This is not a domestic dispute. This is theft. She gave it to us. Mom wailed. She said, "Here, take it. I have a recording. I spoke up. The courtroom went quiet. I hadn't told anyone about the recording of them plotting to cut me out of the ski trip and the bubble tea business while I was in the bathroom. My lawyer played it. The audio was crisp. No, we aren't taking your sister. If she takes a day off, she loses wages. Just us three, a family trip. We're keeping half for retirement and half for you to start a business. The judge's face hardened. Judgment for the plaintiff. The remaining funds are to be transferred to Ms. Miller immediately. The defendants are liable for the $82,000 already spent, plus legal fees. We don't have $82,000, Dad shouted. We have nothing. Then the court orders the liquidation of your assets, the judge said calmly. The house, the car, everything. Case closed. My parents stood there, stunned. They had lost the million. They had lost the money they spent. And now, they were losing their home. As we walked out of the courtroom, Mom grabbed my arm. The security guard stepped forward, but I held up a hand. Chloe, she sobbed, tears streaming down her face. It was a performance I had seen 1,000 times. Please. We're your parents. You can't let us be homeless. We made a mistake. We were just excited. We love you. I looked at her. I looked for that pang of guilt, that instinct to fix it. It wasn't there. You didn't love me when I was walking to school in the rain, I said softly. You didn't love me when you charged me rent to live in my childhood bedroom. You didn't love me when you tried to cut me out of the winnings. We'll pay you back, Dad pleaded, his arrogance gone, replaced by a pathetic desperation. Just give us time. Don't take the house. The house is already gone, Dad. You mortgaged it to the hilt years ago. The bank owns it now. I turned to leave. Wait. Ashley came running down the hallway. She must have been waiting outside. Chloe, you won. You got the million back. Can't you just give us a little? Like $50,000? I have debts. I stopped. I looked at the three of them. A huddle of vultures who had picked the wrong carcass. It was time. You guys really don't get it, I said, adjusting my sunglasses. You think I'm fighting you for this $1 million because I need it? What? Ashley frowned. I reached into my purse and pulled out a bank statement. I had printed it that morning just for this moment. I folded it so only the bottom line was visible. Read the balance, I said, handing it to Ashley. She took it. She squinted. Then her eyes went wide. She stopped breathing. 6 million. She stammered. 6,500,000. Mom snatched the paper. What is this? I bought 2 tickets that day, I said, my voice ringing clearly in the marble hallway. One was a winner for $1 million. You stole that one. The other one, the one I kept in my pocket while you were screaming at me, that one hit the jackpot. 10 million. Dad looked like he was having a stroke. He swayed, clutching his chest. 10 million. I cashed it 4 months ago, I said. I bought a villa. I bought a G-Wagon. I have investments yielding more in a month than you made in a year. Oh my God, Mom whispered. The realization hit her. If she had just been kind, if she had just shared the 1 million, she would have had access to 10. Chloe, Mom stepped forward, her voice trembling with a new, horrifying hope. Baby, 10 million? That's enough for everyone. We can start over. Forget the lawsuit. We're a family. We can go to Aspen. All of us. I laughed. It was a dark, rich sound. I am going to Aspen, I said. I'm leaving tomorrow. I rented a chalet. But you guys aren't invited. Chloe, please, Dad cried out, reaching for me. I'm your father. You owe me. I paid my debt, I said, quoting the words I had said to them months ago. I paid $2,200 a month for years. We're done. I signaled to the security guard. He stepped between us. Have a nice life, I said. Try not to spend the loose change on the sidewalk. I didn't look back as I walked to the parking lot. I could hear them screaming behind me, a mix of curses and begging, but it sounded like distant static. I got into the G-Wagon. The leather was warm. I started the engine and drove out of the city. I did go to Aspen. I learned to ski. I broke my wrist on the 3rd day, but I hired a private nurse to help me, a nice woman named Sarah, who I paid triple the going rate because I knew how hard the job was. 6 months later, I received a letter. It was from the bank. My parents' house had been foreclosed. They had been evicted. I was curious, so I hired a PI to check on them one last time. Ashley had moved in with a boyfriend who dealt drugs. She was working at a diner. Mom and Dad were living in a subsidized 1-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. Dad had taken a job as a greeter at a supermarket. Mom was cleaning houses. They were living the life they had forced me to live for years. Working hard, barely scraping by, with no one to save them. I sat on my porch, looking out at my garden. The roses were in full bloom, vibrant red against the green. My cats were chasing a butterfly. I took a sip of my tea. It was perfect. I picked up my phone. I had one unread message from a blocked number. I didn't read it. I just pressed delete. The curse was broken. The scapegoat had escaped. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was free.